Hey guys, welcome back to Sessions with System and Soul. I'm McKenzie. We're here with Benj. So today's a free tool, and I know how much you guys love a free tool. All of these tools are yours to practice right now, to take back to your team so that you can get clarity in your organization, get aligned around what's most important, and experience breakthrough. That's what we want to help you do. So today we've got a tool that lately I've just heard so many of our clients talk about.
Yeah.
It's a piece of our roadmap. So we did an episode a few weeks ago before, I don't know, at some point in at some point before now, we did an episode that was outlining the roadmap and all of the tools on there that help you get clarity on kind of your like strategic focus, your strategic plan as an organization. This is one component on that roadmap, but it is such a powerful component even by itself. So we're going to walk you through that today. I would encourage you right now before we start to go get a piece of paper, get a pen, and write all this down, but start doing some brainstorming. This will be a powerful exercise for you alone if you're a business owner, but for you to do with your team as well. So I'm gonna let Benj get into it. You want to tell us a little bit more about like what this piece is and
Yeah. I've got a Venn diagram up here on the board. If you're listening, that's three circles that all overlap and intersect. And in the very middle of here, we have what we call is your authentic power. So when we figure out the right answers for what goes in each of these circles and can center the organization to operate around that and use this as a filter to process what kind of opportunities should we embark on, what kind of products, what kind of customers, all of those things can run through this filter, which helps democratize the decision making across the organization because everybody in the organization can decide, does this decision fit our hedgehog? The hedgehog comes from fable in the 1800s by Isaiah Berlin. And it was just a clever little story about this clever little fox who would wake up every morning and he had a plan to go eat this hedgehog for lunch. And he'd go and he'd execute the plan, but the hedgehog would ball up, spikes out, and the fox goes away frustrated. That night, he's, sitting by his campfire, thinks of a brand new strategy. Next morning, he's excited, go execute his new strategy. The hedgehog balls up, spikes out. This goes on day after day. And the moral of the parable is that when you know one thing and you do it really well, it beats trying to recreate a strategy or coming up with a clever new idea and constantly shifting. And so what Jim Collins then found, and he wrote about in chapter 5 of Good to Great, is that companies that made the jump from good to great had a clarity about their hedgehog concept. And in each of these circles, they were able to answer one, what are we deeply passionate about as an organization? Two, what can we be the best in the world at? And three, what drives our economic engine? All right, so let's start with the first two. The third one uses a little bit different part of our brain, so we'll say that for a minute. And I want you to think or brainstorm even better if you have something to write on. If you're driving, just make mental note or use some notes app to record some thoughts. But what are you passionate about as an organization? Maybe it's your customer, maybe it's your product, maybe it's an impact that you're creating in the world. Maybe it's how you do what you do. Maybe it's something internal with your culture. You should be able to come up with 4 or 5 ideas here and just let those sit there. So we're going to brainstorm that. What are you deeply passionate about as an organization? You can look around the organization and you can see, I'm not the only one that cares about this.
the way I see that a lot of times it manifests for some clients is like it's really about what they do that is so unique and kind of more like kind of attached to the why they exist. Like in our case, it's like we want to help entrepreneurs win. So we're very passionate about supporting entrepreneurs, whether they are founders and business owners or they're business coaches. So all those people are entrepreneurial in their pursuit. But those are the people I would encourage you as you think about this. Your passion may lie with your why or who you're trying to impact.
That's right on. That gets paired with what can we be the best in the world at? Don't get caught up in best in the world. That tends to paralyze people because it's too definitive of a thing. But what are we really, really good at? What is the craft that we're mastering? Maybe it is the thing that we are absolutely the best in the world, or best in your region, or best in your industry at. So again, what are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that we can brainstorm here? And if you get an opportunity to do this with your team, that's even better. So the leadership team can all spend some time and coalesce around some ideas here, that's even better. But we're starting with you and me here today, having this conversation. So best to know, once you have 3 or 4 of each of these, you can start to see how they might play together. Sometimes there's a really nice, almost a yin and yang between what you're passionate about and what you're best in the world at. Sometimes they feel totally separated and disparate. And that's okay. They don't have to feel like they go together. You may run into something that you're like, oh, that could be best in the world for us, or it could be what we're deeply passionate about. And that's why we're looking kind of at the combination of how those two things go together, how they play together. One tip is if you do have something that's on your list for what you're deeply, deeply passionate about, a lot of times you'll see expressions of that both internally in your culture and in your operations and your team, as well as what you're doing out into the market, the people you serve, the products you do, whatever that might be. That's not always, but if you see that, that's a pretty good indicator that's right on where it needs to be. So, what are you deeply passionate about? What can you be the best in the world at? Any comments or clarifiers there?
Well, maybe one thing I tend to think about, like, with the deeply passionate, one of the questions I'll ask teens is, like, kind of what keeps you up at night? Like, who keeps you up at night as you think about if you're off your goal or something, it's like, who's this gonna impact the most is really, weighing on me, what weighs on you? And then as far as the, best in the world, I think about, like, what is our highest area of skill? Like, or even, like, what's our secret sauce? Like, what is our proprietary way of doing this that no one else knows or gets or does like us? So, I think every business has something like that, and that combination is really powerful.
Yeah. One of the things that we experienced early on that had really nothing to do with our business, but when we went to best in the world, we were like, our team is exceptional at building, packaging, and launching ideas so that other people can consume. Just like this exercise. This isn't ours, this is from Jim Collins, but how do you take concepts and make them applicable for people? And we're really good at that. That was one of the things we talked about that could go in our circle for best in the world just because of who we were and who we had around the table. Last box uses a little bit different part of our brain. And it's what drives your economic engine. So when we think about your economic engine, it might be growth, it might be revenue, it might be EBITDA, it might be a multiple, it might be something on your balance sheet. So there's the thing that is your economic engine, and the question that we're actually asking is one step before that. So what is the thing that drives that? So if I show up with a 5 gallon tank of something, it's not gas, but it's something. What do you hope it is? Some people are another way to think about it is what is the limiting constraint in your business? Well, if it's labor, then labor is the thing that's going to drive your economic engine. You hope that I'm showing up with 5 gallons of labor in the bucket. If it's leads, then I might go, okay, well, how do we typically get leads? Well, it's through trade shows. Great. What happens at a trade show? Conversation. If we can get a conversation at a trade show, we have a great percentage that turns into a lead, that turns into a customer, and that drives our growth and profitability. Okay, let's go to leads at conversations at trade shows. This becomes the game that we get to play at for our organizations. And there's so much clarity and a little bit of fun that happens when we all get really clear about what game we're trying to play. We're trying to hack our game. And we can put all of our resources, attention, function into the strategy and execution of what's driving our economic engine. Doing it also in light of what are we the best in the world at and what are we deeply passionate about. So when somebody comes and says, hey, we should really build that new product, we go, hey, well, is that what we're deeply passionate about? Does it hit that circle? Does it live in the circle where we're best in the world? And will it help drive our economic engine? And if the answer is yes to all three of those, there's a really good chance you should pursue that. If you're missing one, then it's going to take a conversation and a really good reason to pursue that anyway. If it's only one or none, you need to run away so that you can stay focused on your hedgehog.
One thing on the what drives your economic engine, I had a session the other week with a team, and they do something similar to us. Like they train coaches, and we identified what drove their economic engine as number of qualified leads from their Facebook ads, I think it was. So they identified that pretty quickly and they're like, but it's not really working that well for us. And I'm like, hold on, pause, like that's fine. It is what drives your business right now. And even though it's not doing it well, it's worth noting it now. And what we've just done is identify an opportunity for, even if it's not working as well as it could or should, which I think is going to be easy for anyone to point out about an economic engine. There's always ways that it can be done better, but there is a lot of value in just recognizing that to begin with, and then maybe even asking the question like, well, what would we need to do in order to make this drive our economic engine more effectively? Or are there other things we need to start testing to see if we have a different driver for economic engine?
Yeah. If you're a stage 1 or stage 2 company, it's more like what we've been talking about. If you're a stage 3 or 4 company, then a lot of times these become some sort of efficiency metric, miles per gallon or uh, dollars per man hour. How are we optimizing the business for maximum performance?
Yeah.
So it is driven once you know what your economic engine is, if we're really growth mindset versus profit mindset, those you're going to have different inputs into what drives your economic engine. So this is just going to create a ton of clarity for you and your organization. And I don't know about you, but I get excited when I know the game. Then I start thinking and getting creative about all the ways that we can go about winning the game. So I hope this is clarifying for you. I hope you find your game, live in your passion, refine what you can be the best in the world at. And this isn't everything, but this is a lot to get you in a winning mindset as an organization.
If this was helpful to you, and I'm sure it was, we are doing a workshop series through the fall into January. We're going to be covering concepts just like this one. We'll give you the time to sit down and work on this, and then we'll also be doing like Q&A and feedback and helping you refine this and think through it a little more effectively. So if you want a little bit of coaching through this or you want feedback as you go, we have this workshop series. We will put the link in the show notes in the chat, wherever we are, wherever you're watching this. And I hope we see you there. It'll be very, very helpful in getting your team aligned, getting a playbook for how you talk about your strategic growth, and getting everybody focused on the same page. So that's our workshop. Thanks for walking through this, Benj. You guys, thank you for joining us. Fist bumps. Thank you for helping us put our show on. They're an incredible partner in producing our content, helping us create things and get it out there into the world. So check them out if you need help with that too. I hope you guys have a great week. And